Hey guys, what's going on? Andrew coming at you. And this one I want to talk about Sweden's coronavirus COVID-19 update strategy. What do I think? Have I changed my opinions at all? Because I've had a lot of people talking to me and asking me about that, mostly a few months ago. And let me just begin. Nobody ever likes to hear criticism about their country from someone that's not originally from there, from what I gather in the YouTube comments. But America's doing a horrible job right now, worse than Sweden. And, you have so many factors. You have the division in America, which means some people take it seriously, some don't. You have, the protests happening, you have the pro-Trump rallies happening, and those are all super spreader things. And at least to Sweden's credit, it's not like we have thousands of people gathering together outside for things that are super spreading events. So that's great. With all that said, though, I was one of the few people that was critical of Sweden's strategy. I'm pro-mask. I was for distance learning, for example. I was for basically shutting down everything but non-essential stuff. And if you did a lockdown, it would have to be temporary, probably not forever, but more or less just having more strict restrictions in place. And I took a lot of hate for that over time, a lot of harassment. It was weird. I got a lot of hate, harassment. I had people target me, and it was, look, most people are great. It was just a few bad apples, 3 or 4, that went out of their way to try to make my life a living hell just because I disagreed with them. But good news is, it is what it is, right? I had a lot of people in August say to me, your video didn't age well, because this was when a lot of the numbers were going down in Sweden. So a lot of people said this video is embarrassing. This video didn't age well. You should take it down. And first of all, if I ever say anything and I'm wrong, especially if it's a prediction or what I think, I don't necessarily want to take it off my channel just to protect myself, to be always looking right, because I think part of being a man and a person is being okay with being wrong. I've met so many people over the years where they never admit they're wrong. And I think that that's a weird thing. I think that's kind of a weird weakness to have, because it's okay to be wrong. It's a part of life. So I don't want to necessarily take stuff away if I'm wrong in a video, unless it's misinformation or something, or I got a fact wrong. Then I want to come out and say, hey, I got this wrong. But so all these people said all that, and I was hopeful. I would be happy if Sweden reached herd immunity and it was all over with. That's awesome. That would be the best case scenario. I don't want to be inside all day. And just to be safe and be honest, I think since February, I think I've been out of the house for a non-essential thing, but somewhat socially distanced 3 times. I've been to a restaurant and a bar and maybe one other thing. So I'm not perfect, but I try to practice what I preach as much as I can, but I don't wear a mask. Probably because of the social stigma of I don't want to be the one person wearing a mask and no one else does. That's why I think it's interesting how all this stuff works. But also, I'm not necessarily afraid of COVID-19 myself. It was scary in the beginning, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm not sitting at home all day worrying about it. But I do think it's something that we should take seriously to protect the more vulnerable people. So all that stuff happened. And then my suggestion to these people was, we have to wait and see. We have to see if herd immunity is possible. I'm not convinced that herd immunity is possible, and I said we had to wait till the second wave. And if Sweden gets hit hard in the second wave, just as everybody else, then the strategy didn't work. If Sweden does better than all the other countries in the second wave, hey, then the strategy worked. And we're looking at everything right now, and we're seeing the numbers in Sweden going up quite alarmingly. And the death rates have been low, but we're starting to see that slowly climb up. And I've said this, but no matter what strategy ends up being the right strategy, right? Whether it's other countries or it's Sweden, if a country's wrong, they're never going to say they're wrong. No government's going to be we were wrong about this. All they're going to do is slowly make changes over time to get to where they want to be, is my personal opinion. So we saw a lot of regions in Sweden come with more strict rules or suggestions, because a lot of times in Sweden, it would be hard to enforce this by police, and it's a long process to get it set as a law. So they're usually strong suggestions. And we've reached the point now where just recently they've asked people, they've banned the sale of alcohol past 10 o'clock because people weren't following all the rules and regulations. A lot of bars and restaurants were letting more people be there than possible. And it feels to me that we're heading towards what I would call a lockdown light, where I think we're going to get to a point where they're going to say, if you can work from home, work from home. They're going to say that some schools will have to move to distance learning or just have to move to distance learning no matter what, depending on how bad it gets. And that they're going to basically shut down anything that's not essential. I don't think they're going to actually shut it down and enforce people being inside, but they're going to just encourage everybody not to do that. And that makes me think, and this is like where my critical thinking skills come in. I feel like we had the other rules before, and that was fine, and nobody seemed concerned about the spread. But they're ramping up more of these rules quite fast, and that makes me think that they're running the numbers a little bit and realizing that possibly in November, December, the medical systems could get overrun. I'm not saying they are. Like, that's the main thing. You let it spread so that the medical systems don't get overrun. But the fact that we're seeing a lot more of these rules and regulations come in place, I feel like they wouldn't worry about it if they weren't worried about the health facilities. So we're slowly starting to see this happen. And it just makes me think that I'm not convinced that herd immunity is possible. It doesn't really look like Sweden is doing much better than other countries currently now. So we'll have to wait and see. So that's just my update on this. I'm not convinced. I still think Sweden's going to get hard in the second wave. And I'm still under the impression that when this thing is said and done, countries like Finland and Norway will have less deaths when coronavirus is done with than Sweden. I think Sweden will still be hit the hardest out of the Nordic countries, at least. And I think that's what you have to compare them to, since the population density and the cultures are very similar. So, again, I hope I'm wrong. And I just want to say there's no perfect system. There's no perfect rule. I'm not perfect either. And it doesn't feel good to do a video like this. But all I want to say is to you is I'm still going to wait and see. For those of you that write in the comments either that I'm wrong or that I'm right, all I ask is wait and see. If we see numbers go down, I don't think that means that we should start doing all the fun stuff that we want to do and not thinking about the possibilities of the virus still spreading and stuff. And then finally, the reason I always felt this way is I just don't think that you can control a spread. Meaning, like, I don't think it's possible to say, okay, we're going to protect the old people here. Now let's let this virus spread to the younger people that not get sick. Because I just think the consequence always is the more people that get sick, the more old people that are invulnerable that are going to get sick. Why? Because maybe they got to go to the store, they got to buy food, they have to do certain things. They might take a walk outside. It's hard for a virus to spread and for you to actually pick certain groups to not get infected by it. So, but I mean, we weren't able to protect the older people in the U.S. either. So this is just my opinion, and I'm really impressed with Sweden overall as far as being a country that, like, Swedes don't get that stressed about stuff. And I think that's great that Swedes don't panic that much, but they did buy a bunch of toilet paper once. But overall, I think that as a country, I do think more people take it seriously. I just feel that a lot of people got a false sense of security and kind of been relaxed a little bit like that. But I also think the government realizes that the current strategy that we have isn't effective enough to stop the medical system from getting overwhelmed, which is why we're slowly ramping up to a lockdown light. But anyways, that's my opinion. You can give your thoughts below, and I'll talk to you later. Hey, all.